Dave, welcome back to Coffee and Tea with CarrieVee.
Glad to be here with you, Carrie.
I bet you are today because we're going to do something special today on Coffee and Tea with CarrieVee. So Dave, I'm going to give you the microphone and start sweating bullets over here.
Well, we met about a year ago, and I've been a guest on your show. And the last time we were on, I suggested that maybe I needed to be the host for one show and interview CarrieVee, give you an opportunity to talk 90% of the time, and we're going to get a chance to do that. Your listeners will get a different experience and get a different opportunity to hear some things. I've got some prepared questions, and we'll just go from there. Because as I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, you have a bachelor's degree in music.
I do.
And I just wondered how music shapes your life.
Music in many ways is in every aspect of my life. And a lot of people don't know this about me anymore. Now, if you had brought this up years ago, everybody would have said, well, of course she has a bachelor's degree in music. She travels all over the world and sings. And I did. That was what I did for a living. I put my kids in a car and we traveled. I worked with World Vision and found sponsorships through music. So I spent a lot of time on stage singing, a lot of time on theater acting and singing, and music. I don't ever remember not having music be a part of my life growing up. My dad was a musician and traveled all over the world. He used to say that he took my mom to every country on the slide of his trombone. And pretty much that was true. They went everywhere, and we just grew up appreciating and loving all kinds of music, from swing and sway music to big band music to Chicago. I mean, my dad just introduced us to all kinds of music. So even now, if I get up on stage to speak, I will always try to bring some kind of singing or music into everything I do. And I can't stop singing. It's just, it just comes out of me. It's part of who I am.
Well, that's terrific. Do you do it with an audience anymore?
I do when I'm speaking. If I'm giving a keynote or a workshop, I will sing. And I actually just reached out to someone to start taking voice lessons again, because I do miss singing and having it be a bigger part of what I do.
I can hear you in your voice that it's a passion, and following that passion is gonna bear fruit. So congratulations on stepping back into that. That's terrific. I got a question, because this came up in our leadership conference just recently. 3 questions, all follow one another. But if you know me, if you really know me, and if you really, really knew me, what 3 things would we know about Carrie?
Okay. If you know me, you know that one of my favorite colors is yellow. If you really know me, if you really know me, you know that personal development books are also a passion of mine, and I own many. If you really, really know me, then you know that my natural tendency is to go to the negative. And I work very hard on keeping a positive mindset, because it's not a natural thing for me.
Wow, that's interesting, because you are among the more positive people that I've ever met, and you would never, ever know that. So tell me, where does that negativity come from? Is it a self-inflicted, or does it come from someplace else?
I think it is self-inflicted. I mean, if I look at a personality type, I tend to be a very outgoing person, very people-oriented person. I'll put it that way. The negativity comes just from different times in my life where I felt like I didn't perform at a standard that I felt I could have performed at. And the negativity would start to, well, of course you didn't do that as good, or it's a self-defense mechanism. Because if I think that I'm not good enough, then I don't try. Then I'm not going to go out there and try, because of course I'm not going to succeed. I really believe it comes from a self-defense mechanism. And I've worked so hard on becoming positive that I will start to lean towards that before I go to the negative. Well, not before. The negative will peep in, and I can get it out of my head much faster these days. But that's a very interesting question, Dave. I think it's a self-defense mechanism because if I stay on the negative side, fear can just kind of take over and I can stay in my comfort zone and not challenge myself.
Well, I think that your listeners are going to appreciate that because most of us have that inner negativity. It's the ability to step past that. And sometimes that compartmentalizing of that negativity and pushing it aside is easy, and other times it's hard.
Yeah.
What kinds of things do you do when it's most challenging to overcome that?
I move my body. So I will take a walk, hop on the treadmill or put a dance video in. But when I move, I immediately feel better. And when I feel better, it is easier to overcome that negativity. And I was talking to a client about this the other day. It just doesn't matter really in the big scheme of things how many times you get knocked down. It matters how many times you get back up. And in that year and a half of my life, from December of 2021 to July really of 2020 to July of 2021. I don't know if I got those years right, but anyway, December 2020. Yes, that's right. Such a hard time in my life where I felt like the waves were crashing over me again and again. And I got knocked down a lot, but I also kept getting up. So as long as you keep getting up one more time than you've been knocked down, you can get rid of that negativity. You can. It isn't easy, but you can. And moving your body, I mean, you can't stay negative when you've got a set of pom-poms in your hand and you're cheering. It's just silly and it's fun and you look ridiculous, but it makes you laugh. And once you laugh, it's easy to say, okay, my negative voice is named Stacy. So I apologize to all the Stacys out there. Anyone who knows me also knows that I've named her Stacy. Don't know where it came from, but it's so much easier when I am happy and moving and appreciating the shell that I get to live in. It's just much easier for me to say, Stacy, you're done. Your free rental space is done. I gave you time. I felt all the emotions, but you need to go because I got work to do.
Yeah. That's amazing that you're able to identify that with a person's name, and that it's actually a female person. It's not an alter ego male that you want to just, kick out of the house or whatever. But yeah, for me, I've got to find people. If I'm by myself and I'm in that self deprecating environment, I need to just get out and see people, whether that's customers or family or my spouse or whatever. And immediately I can't take that negativity to somebody else. So I appreciate that. That time that you're talking about, that was the time in which your brother was struggling and that ultimately passed away, correct?
That was a very, very dark time as well. That was back in 2007 to 2010. 2020 is when I was diagnosed with the same cancer that my brother died from. And that began a domino effect of waves crashing.
Sure. So that feeling like I'm there, I'm going through that a second time.
Yeah, that and being so angry at my physical body because I felt I had done everything right. I had doctors who told me your brother's cancer was lifestyle related. And if you do these things, then you will never have the same cancer. And I had ticked off all the boxes. I had lost the 100 pounds. I had started a healthy eating lifestyle, a healthy movement lifestyle. I drank all the water. I dealt with my stress. And here I was with the same cancer. And I was very angry at anything and anybody that had anything to do with me having cancer, that I had worked so hard to do all the right things, quote unquote, to not get it. I didn't know then that we carried a genetic disorder in our family and that I carried it. I had no idea. That was that was like the fourth news in the news of news that was coming. And that news, as devastating as it was also news that helped me start putting the pieces together for the why there was so much of this devastating colon cancer in our family. And putting those pieces together really has led to another platform for me to use my voice and to let people know that this disorder does exist, and it is important to get tested for it. Because when you know what you know, it's not a death sentence anymore, because there are things you can do to catch it early. There, you may not be able to avoid it with the missing gene that we have, but we can head it off at the pass. And using that knowledge and using my voice it's been a powerful part of my life once I could get up from the wave that crashed over me.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful stuff. And, I'm sure you've talked about it to your listeners over the period of time. And again, you and I are just getting to know one another, but to hear the power in your voice, just telling that story, you can hear it from your heart that this is not just a passing, a passing fancy or, oh, by the way, kind of moment. This is foundational
Yes.
to CarrieVee. I wanted to change gears just a little bit because
Okay.
I read on your, again, I love to read LinkedIn profiles and posts, and you recently wrote a post called "Talk is Cheap," and it had to do with practicing speeches for Toastmasters. And I
Yeah.
wondered where that came from, and your love for Toastmasters. Did you get involved in it early or late?
Late. My dad told me forever. I can't ever remember him not talking about Toastmasters and really encouraging me to get involved. I did not get involved until 2019, just before the pandemic. And
Okay.
I actually decided to compete. They asked me if I would compete in the 2020 international speech competition, which I did. Started off in person, of course, went virtual, but I went all the way up to the semifinals, which was so disappointing because it was supposed to be in Paris, France. I'd have been competing in Paris, France. And instead, I was right here in front of this wall competing. But Toastmasters has taught me a lot is a very odd term, isn't it? Toastmasters has given me the skills to move forward and improve how I speak, how I relate to people, how to slow down and think of the thought instead of using a filler word, how to connect with people. And it's also given me friendships that are lifelong in being able to go there and connect. It's something I highly, highly recommend if you want to be a positive, compelling speaker at any stage. You don't have to be on stage giving keynotes or leading workshops. We're all speaking. We're leading a work meeting. We are talking with a spouse. We are talking with our kids. We all need to know how to communicate better. And Toastmasters has done that. They give you such amazing feedback whenever you speak. And one of the things we do is called table topics, where the topic master will give you a topic and you are required to speak for 2 to 3 minutes on that topic without any preparation. It's my favorite part of Toastmasters. I would do it every single day. It's the best practice in the world because somebody at some point is going to say, would you like to stand up and say a few words? And most people are like,
No, I'll go later after everybody else is done.
Yes, and then maybe we'll be out of time.
You had made three points in your article, and I just want you to expand on them verbally. One was practice. One was choosing the right words, being organized in your thought and your preparation tone. And the third was actually an interesting one that I subscribe to, which is speaking for free. And actually perfecting your speech through those. Can you address those verbally for us?
Yeah. So the third point in speaking for free and practice, those really are going hand in hand. They're giving you the opportunity to practice. I have many, many clients who will say to me, I want the big stage. I don't want to do these little stages. Well, you're not ready for the big stage until you take the little stages. My first stage as a little girl was my stuffed animals. They were the first people, in quotes, that I practiced on. And then I practiced on whoever would listen to me. And even when I started singing, I sang I sang wherever they would let me take a mic and start singing. And it goes the same with speaking. So you're practicing, you're finding these places where you can speak. They can be local businesses. You could call and say, I have this amazing presentation on speaking with conviction. I would love to come in and do a 45-minute lunch and learn. My gift to you. Almost everyone will say yes. Almost everyone will. And then you get to start practicing. The caveat is what you're practicing needs to be good. So you need to get your thoughts together. The more prepared you are, the more you love your audience. And it is always all about your audience. If you're nervous getting up on stage, nervous to the point where you really can't speak, your focus is on you. If your focus is on loving that audience and serving them, you're going to have butterflies. That's part of life. And it's good to have those butterflies. But you will be able to bring to them what it is that they want and need because you're focused on them and having your thought process out. If you have 20 minutes to speak, don't try to give a 45-minute keynote. If they've given you 5 minutes, plan something that takes 4 because it's going to take you longer when you get there in person. And have your thoughts together in a very detailed way. It doesn't mean that you're writing out the entire speech, but at least have the ladder. Know where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up someplace and the people are going to be looking at you as if to say, I don't have a clue what you just said. And it's happened to all of us.
They talk about my teaching method is tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them, and then tell them what you've told them.
Yes. Yes. Because it takes people often 3 to 6 times for a new concept to stick. So let's say a 20-minute presentation, if you introduce 10 new concepts, they're not going home with any of them. Bring 1, bring maybe 2, back it up with a story, tell them again, and then ask them what they learned so that you know if the plane landed. You don't want them to leave without the concept. So land the plane.
Yeah. Yeah. I see so often people reading PowerPoints, even today, that just and I can hear it in your head shaking that it's not preparation.
No.
If you know your subject matter, you don't need those crutches to read from.
Yes, you are simply glancing at the PowerPoint to make sure that you advance to the correct slide.
Sure, absolutely. Or you're using the slide pictures or the graphs or whatever to illustrate the example that you're making.
Yes.
And thinking about your butterflies, I remember Zig Ziglar early on, he said, we've all got butterflies when we get up in front of a group. He said, some can get them to fly in formation.
That's great. My dad used to tell me, I asked him one time when I would stop being so nervous getting on stages and singing. And he said, if you are ever not nervous before you hop onto the stage, then you should never go on the stage again because it means your arrogance has taken over.
Wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you believe that?
I do. I think if we get so confident, if we get so arrogant in ourselves, confidence is great. I teach confidence. There's a difference between confidence and arrogance. And his point was there's a little bit of nerves because you are bringing this gift to your audience. And you so want them to love your gift. It's the same as if I give a gift to my husband, I'm always just a little bit nervous to see if is he going to love it as much as I think he is. There's that little bit of nerves. Sure. That was what my dad was referring to. That there should be a little bit of that. Yes, be confident in your craft. And the more confident you are, the less nervous you will be. But there should always be that, he called it excitement. There should always be that feeling, those butterflies of excitement as you would bring this gift to your audience.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. I hope your butterflies are flying in formation because again, coming in today, there was nothing prepared. We're just having a conversation as you often do. I don't have a coffee or tea with me. I got my bottle of water, but
that's all I got.
would you believe 20 minutes has passed that quickly? It's unbelievable. If you'll have me another time, I'll be back. But as we close, one of the things that is a staple of CarrieVee's is your version of your Pow Pow Shoes journal prompt. And where can we find you, Carrie? So what is your version today of your Pow Pow Shoes?
Very interesting. My version of my Pow Pow shoes has changed so much. I do love, if you're watching the video, I do love my sparkly Pow Pow shoes, and they still go on my feet when I speak. But right next to me are bright yellow sneakers as well, because those have really high heels and really pointy toes. And they're not as comfortable to walk around in. So I have yellow sneakers that I stick my feet in, and people will stop me all the time to ask about my sneakers. And then I have a great conversation. So I'm claiming my yellow sneakers as my Pow Pow shoes right now. And they're neon yellow.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe post some pictures of you running in those
I will.
changing your attitude from negativity to positivity. And holy cow, you got a word picture there. So what's your journal prompt today?
My journal prompt today is, if there was one thing that you could change about yourself, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, what would it be? And what is the first step you would take to change that thing? So one action step you could start doing right now. Maybe it's a negative attitude. Maybe it's an inability to set goals or boundaries, but what is that one thing, and what is one step that you could take right now?
Wow, that's powerful stuff. And there's lots of food out in that, and you can expand that, that thought for your listeners another time. Where can we find CarrieVee?
Everything is on my website, CarrieVee.com, 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 all there. In fact, there's a beautiful new events page that I highly recommend you check out, because there are events like crazy coming up that I'm in some way involved in, and would love to see you there.
Where's your travels going to take you?
Going to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which I found out is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful place. Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, Connecticut, and I'm not sure where in Connecticut, right here in town, North Carolina, Virginia. I'd like to come out west.
Yeah, all the way to Ohio.
All the way to Ohio. I
Across the
love
Mississippi.
Ohio.
Yeah, it's I'm coming from Cincinnati, Ohio. For those of you who are listening, I'm the president of our Coleraine Chamber of Commerce here in Cincinnati, and appreciate being the co-host or the substitute host, or whatever it is I am today, and glad you're here. If you're in those cities and places that Carrie's going to be, find her and go see her live, because you can't miss seeing CarrieVee live. Continue to subscribe to the podcast and watch the videos, but certainly if you get an opportunity to meet her in person, you'll benefit from that. I can guarantee it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have been a fantastic host. This has been fun. And while you were asking me these questions, I got to thinking, I wonder how many people know any of this about me, because I have been reticent to really talk about many of these areas of my life very much. So you brought out a lot of good stuff, Mr. Dave.
Well, we're glad to be here. Glad to serve the CarrieVee population. And with that, we'll close today, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Carrie.
Bye.